Yeah. I guess this is the second episode of News Report. This is kind of like on the spot though. This wasn't really all planned out. Well, none of them were really planned out, to be honest. Yeah. So this is gonna be episode 2. I'm calling this episode "There's No App for Preparation." Now, this is a quote that I got from my choir director, J. Max Ferdinand. Shout out to J. Max Ferdinand out there. Choir of the World 2017. Director of the World 2017. And he put this in our choir group, Facebook group, and he says simply, "There's no app, there's no app for preparation." And I didn't really know what he meant by that. When he first posted it, I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess that means that you gotta prepare for stuff. But I'll share in this episode how much of a true statement that really is, in the fullness of how it's being used in this context. So basically, what this quote is saying is that there's no shortcut for preparing for something, at least if you want to be good at it. Lots of times, I mean, everyone has done this at one point in time. They try to find a shortcut of doing something just, because it's easier. Because who wants to, really work hard? Like, that's not fun. It's not fun at all. And finding shortcuts is just easier. So, I mean, when it comes to things that actually could be useful for shortcuts, like, a quicker way to, like, cut the grass, or something that doesn't really need a shortcut, like, I don't even know. That was a terrible analogy. I can't even edit this. Can I take this out? Yeah, let's just start over. Boom, take 2 of the episode 2 of News Report. So we're not using that analogy. Basically, but as I was saying, taking shortcuts is easy, but that's only gonna get you so far in the game, and eventually you're gonna get exposed. You might be able to hang tough for a little bit taking shortcuts, but eventually you're gonna be exposed, and it's probably gonna destroy you and ruin your whole self-esteem. So he gave an example of basically how, he's a musician, and he put in the work for, becoming a well-learned, educated musician who can, basically hold his own in the music world. There's a certain quota that you have to reach, understanding music theory and being able to read and analyze music in real time. And basically he gave an example of how he was sitting in on a rehearsal, and the choir director that he was visiting, he was like, "Hey, you know this piece, right?" And my director said, "Well, no, I've never seen this piece before in my life." Well, he said, "Well, come up here and direct it for me." If our director hadn't put in the time, to perfect his craft so that he could read music and direct in real time and know all the nuances he needs to do, he would have been embarrassed and had no respect in the choral world whatsoever. But basically he gave that example and there's no app for preparation. And I experienced this heavily this past week. In the last episode, I talked about how I got a new car, and that episode, if you haven't heard about it, tune in, go back. It's called micro networking, and basically I talk about there is building relationships with the people around you. But I referenced me getting a new car, and I didn't mention in the episode that this new car was a stick shift, and I did not know how to drive a stick shift at the time. which was just a couple days ago. And so yeah, I'm at the lot and I get this car. I have my eye on this car, and I say, yeah, I want this car. I've been wanting to learn how to drive a stick shift. Stick shifts are cool. You get the rush. You get to have the control that you want over the car. You get to speed up faster. It'd be cool, right? I want to learn how to drive a stick shift. I feel like more manly or whatever. So I buy the car. And I was like, you know what? This is gonna force me to learn on the spot. I'm gonna just do it. Dive in head first. Can't swim, but I'm jumping in the deep end. So I get the car home. By the grace of God, I don't know how I got that car home, because I did not know how to drive a stick. I knew how. Well, no. Let me correct that. That's another point I want to make. I knew how to drive a stick, but knowing how and doing it are two different things. The second major point. I'm not at the second major point yet, but that's the second major point. So I get home, and that next morning, that next day was probably the worst day. One of the worst days of my life. I'm pretty sure I stalled that day a total of about 35 times throughout that day. 35 times on the road, in public, people watching, honking, cursing. It was terrible and freakishly embarrassing. And it was in front of people I knew sometimes too, which was even worse. I could deal with strangers cussing me out, but people I know laughing at, that's just bad, man. So basically at this point, I was really depressed. I was like, I don't know why I got this car. I'm stupid. I can't get where I need to go. I had lots of things to do, and I dreaded driving the car. I didn't want to drive it anymore. I wanted to just turn it back in, hand the receipt in of purchase and get an exchange or something. Can't do that, but so basically okay, I'll be right back real quick. So basically I leave the car at my job that I had someone drive there for me. And I go to choir practice and I come back and I'm just there at my car, just I don't want to drive this thing anymore. I really want to give up. But I had really no choice. And basically I sat there in my car and I decided I was like, I'm never going through this day again. I'm never going to be embarrassed like this again. And I never want to not have control over what I want to do like this again. So I stayed in that parking lot for about 2 hours straight. Just stopping, going, speeding up, backing out, going on an incline, parking, different gears. I was just in there burning out my car, burning out the clutch until I got it right. And there was times where I really just wanted to push the car so hard that the airbag deployed. I was really frustrated, but I really just had to tough it out and grind it out. And basically after that day, the next day I got home, and that next day I might have stalled once, twice max for the whole day. And I had a new confidence driving the car. I no longer dreaded having to go somewhere because I knew I could get there without people making fun of me or getting mad at me on the street. It was the difference from day 1 to day 2 was just crazy. And that quote that my director said, "There's no app for preparation," came back into my head, and I was like, wow. It showed itself to me that there's no replacement for hard work. There's absolutely nothing, no shortcut. There's nothing. There's no app. There's no workshop. There's no advice. There's no partner. There's nothing that can replace hard work. Nothing. And I feel like so many times across all generations, I'm not even just talking to millennials this time, that we feel like there's some type of magical answer that we're looking for, that we're waiting for. Like, I kept going to people saying, hey, can you show me how to drive, this stick shift, or could you give me some advice? But I knew how to drive the stick shift, but I just needed to put in the work to figure out how to do it for myself. I knew how, I knew the concept, but knowing how and doing are two different things. We seek so much knowledge, we ask for advice, we do this, we do that, but actually taking action on your muse, on your aspirations, on your goals is completely different than dreaming about it. And no matter how much you dream, no matter how much you plan, no matter how much knowledge you attain about what you want to do, about the topic, there's no better way to learn than through action. There's no app for preparation. You just have to prepare. You have to put in the work. And that's the point of this whole episode, is you have to put in the work. I'm a bass player, and I've probably watched like 20 videos about doing runs on a Mixolydian scale. You don't even have to know what that means. But no matter how many videos I watch of someone doing that, doesn't get me any closer to actually playing it, actually doing it in a performance. I might know how to do it. I know what a Mixolydian scale consists of, but that can't help me play it. That adds no value to my playing. Knowing something and doing something are completely two different things. So the point really of this episode, and really it's kind of the point of this whole podcast, is me reporting on my muse, reporting on me taking action towards my aspirations and goals. I'm putting in the work. Not everybody sees me putting in the work. Not everybody needs to see you putting in the work. In fact, don't boast yourself putting out the work, because that's when people start to feel, when they start talking before they actually have anything of worth or value to talk about. But that's another topic. But yeah, man, we talk about the grind all the time, but the grind has become, this is going to be another episode too, by the way. The grind has become this type of glorified, romanticized thing that has become mainstream. Oh, I'm on my grind. No, you're not. You're not on your grind. If you were on your grind, I wouldn't be seeing you on social media every 20 seconds talking about nonsense. People who are on their grind, you don't see. People who are on their grind are putting in work behind closed doors. And those are the people that make it out there. But just put in the work. Take a plan of action. There's no app for preparation. You have to do the preparation. You got to do the hard work in order for it to manifest itself in the future. Whatever that might be for you, whether it's learning how to drive a stick shift, whether it's learning how to play guitar, whether it's finally following through on that business plan or business idea that you have, and taking steps toward achieving it, real physical, tactile steps to achieving it. Or maybe it's you learning how to swim, or maybe it's actually starting that club that you always thought about that would be a good idea. Whatever it is, put in the work for it. There's no app, there's no shortcut, there's no side road, there's no avoiding the hard work it takes to be successful. If you want to be mediocre, by all means, there's an app for that. Take the shortcut, But if you're going to be, a part of the Muse Report family, the Muse Report community out here, we put in work because we're not trying to be mediocre. We're trying to be extraordinary. So that's the point of this episode. There's no app for preparation. I thought that was a great quote. Once again, shout out to my choir director, J. Max Ferdinand. He's the best. And that's it for this episode. Put in the work. There's no app for preparation. I guarantee you, you'll reap the benefits. Hopefully I reap the benefits because we're on this journey together. I'm putting the work. Put in the work with me. I'll see you on the next episode of the Muse Report. This is Clee Davis. I'm out. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.
Hey guys, Clee here. Thanks so much for listening to the Build Your Vision podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would think you did if you stayed all the way to the end. The best thing that you could do to help support this show is by sharing it with somebody. By you just taking a few seconds to recommend this show to somebody, you are making a huge impact, not only on the success of this show, but possibly on that person's life.